Welcome everybody. So I'm gonna go through first how the gut works. Okay, let's simplify that. So basically, when you have food, it goes into your mouth, or you drink, goes through your mouth, and basically with the food, your teeth, your tongue, and your saliva, mush it and chomp it, and creates like a ball. So this ball then goes down into through your esophagus, and your esophagus contracts and pushes it down further and further and further into like a trap door, right? And then it's like a trap door that then goes into your stomach. Your stomach walls contract and mush this ball with the gastric juices and enzymes that break down fats and basically creates like a paste. It mixes everything with acid and creates a paste. That paste then goes to your small intestines, which is basically like a 20-foot long tunnel. And it mixes with bile and with enzymes. And then in your small intestines is where you break down fats and carbs and proteins. And these get absorbed into the wall of the small intestines. Now, the part we're going to focus on is what happens in the large intestines. And in the large intestines, the microbes, basically the cultures, they break apart the nutrients and they eat them. And then when they eat the nutrients, they then create better nutrients. When they eat them, they create like a new little form of a nutrient, and then that gets absorbed through the wall of the large intestines, and also goes through basically that's also where your body absorbs most of the water that it takes in. And pretty much if you're absorbing too much water, that's what causes constipation. If it passes through too quickly and you're not absorbing enough water, that's where you would have diarrhea or loose stool. Not to be too gross. That whole process takes about 36 hours from when you eat something to when it's supposed to leave your body. Some of the functions of the gut, they're doing a lot of studies nowadays, and they are saying that it has a lot to do with your brain. Your gut health and your brain health is very much tied. Harvard did a study about 2 years ago that had all kinds of technical stuff as to why they are so related. 70% of your immune system is also based in your gut. So the things that you eat, it's not, a lot of people think of like probiotics as that, people mistake it for fiber, and it's not. It's completely two different things. But people feel like they're very similar, but they're not. They really are not. Fiber basically cleans your gut. Probiotics are basically the cultures that help keep your body, absorb the nutrients and help keep things going. Not going in the sense that fiber does as far as going to the bathroom, but helps absorb some of the nutrients. I'm a little distracted. I just heard some bad news literally right before I got on the live, so I'm a little distracted. So basically, it helps your heart, your immune health, also helps improve your mood and your hormones. So your gut really plays a pretty big role in a lot of what goes on in your body. Serotonin is also produced in your gut. What's produced in your brain? Serotonin is known as the happy, is the happy hormone. And basically what's called peripheral serotonin is produced in your large intestines, and that actually, did you ever hear the term ghost poop? When everything kind of comes out and it's like you wipe and there was nothing there. That's pretty much what serotonin does. That means that it's doing its job and it's kind of like pushing everything out. And then what happens with extra serotonin that is produced, it absorbs into the walls and goes into your bloodstream, goes into your platelets, which then helps with blood clots and goes to your brain and helps with your mood. So all of this plays a role. So in depression, it plays a role in your blood clotting, because the extra serotonin helps with the blood clotting. as we age, the good bacteria that you have in your gut, you have less and less. Your body's producing less and less good bacteria. So now let's get into, now that you have an idea of what goes on in your intestines, let's talk about more of what is a probiotic. So the probiotics are actually little microbes, and in your gut you have probiotics, which are good bacteria, and then you have a couple of different, you have other ones, but one specifically we're going to focus on is Candida. Do you remember the show Gremlins? And not the show, the movie, the Gremlins. Oh, I think it was a show too. Anyway, totally diverting. So what was the one thing that you couldn't, if you put water on a gremlin, what happens? I'll wait while somebody answers the question, because I'm sure some of you know the answer to that. So when you poured water on a gremlin, what happened if you watered it or gave the gremlin water? The little, what was the little guy's name? Gizmo. Gizmo was the cute little gremlin. You gave him water, he multiplied. So basically, right, he multiplies. So when you have Candida, so Candida is also in your gut, and Candida plays a function that is supposed to remove fungus from your diet, right? It protects you from the fungus, it eats that. But it also loves the carbs and the sugar. So when you eat a lot of carbs and sugar, the more you eat the carbs and sugar, the more Candida you're feeding them. And those are like the gremlins. They're just going to keep multiplying because you're feeding them, you're feeding them, you're feeding them. So those are not the good bacteria that you want, because if you're feeding them and they're overgrowing in your system, that can lead to bloating, that can lead to gas, creates more cravings for carbs and for sugars. It can lead to you being fatigued, headaches, depression, poor memory. Basically, and as it's overtaking, as it's growing more and more, you're leaving less room for the probiotics, the good bacteria. Now, the probiotics, basically, you want more of them, and you want to produce as many as you can, because as they eat the nutrients that are broken down in your large intestines, they're creating more vitamins and absorbing them into your body, and that's where a lot of the health benefits come in with the probiotics, because it is a huge booster for immune system, and that is why they say that anybody with any sort of chronic illness should be taking probiotics on a daily basis. Now, what does that mean? So you want to take a minimum of 10 billion cultures. You want a day. If you took more than that, that's fine, but you want a minimum of 10 billion cultures. There are certain foods that have active cultures. So if you're looking for things in yogurt or in the dairy section, you want it to make sure it says active cultures if you're looking for the active cultures. The problem with some of the active cultures is, because it's in things like yogurt or drinks, they often they either are killed if they're pasteurized. So if something says that there's active cultures, and then the item says that it was pasteurized, those cultures are not active. They were killed during the pasteurizing process, and the FDA doesn't always. Some of the products the FDA monitors with that, and some of them they don't. So you don't always know. I personally take probiotics, and mine is with a prebiotic, which we'll get to in a minute. And basically, with the probiotics that I take, it's a pill form. So if you take the probiotics with a pill form, you want to take it after eating a meal. So it's very important that you take it after a meal, because you want your stomach to be full. If you take it on an empty stomach, it will break down. The acids will just kill it all. If you take it on a full stomach, like I said earlier, when your stomach is moving everything around, the walls, kind of pushing it all together, most likely the pill will get kind of mushed within that, and therefore it'll break down in your intestines as it's going through the process. It will most likely break down when it gets down to the large intestines, which is where you want it. Now, I take probiotics with a prebiotic. Either you take it with prebiotic foods, that helps feed it, or you eat prebiotic foods after you take your probiotic. So I take the one that I take that's a pill form is probiotics and prebiotics in it. So it kind of has a little bit of both. So the prebiotics are food for the microbes or the probiotics. So it's like you have these little guys in there, and now you want to feed them because you want them to grow more and more than the candida. And Christine, you should not take it first thing in the morning. You want to take it after you've eaten. So if you've eaten breakfast and then you take it, that's fine. That's also part of the issues with the drinks or the yogurts that have active cultures, is a lot of times by the time it gets down to your large intestines, most of those cultures are actually gone. You're not taking, you're not actually getting the full benefit. And that's one of the downsides with probiotics, is because they don't really explain anything to you. I know with my mother, when I was reading and studying on brain health after her stroke, and I learned more about the probiotics, the doctors and the nurses in the hospitals and these facilities, they just gave it to her when they gave her morning meds. They did not care that she had nothing to eat. And I actually brought it to their attention. And I actually had changed it in the hospitals and the facilities that I wanted it, you know, whatever her next medicine time was, after lunch or after dinner, that's when she got it. And I told the doctors to put it in. And they were like, oh, that's true. You should have it after a meal. So why is it getting prescribed on just give it to a person at any point throughout the day? Like, I don't understand that. And these are just reasons why you need to fight for yourself, and because you're taking this pill in a way that you're getting no benefit from it. So why would they give it to you that way? But they don't, that's not their focus. And that's what I was told multiple times by many different people. And that is why I consulted with pharmacists on a regular basis when dealing with my mother, to go over some of her medications and what are best times that she should be taking them. Like, you know, same thing with like acid reflux pills. They should be taken in the morning first thing on an empty stomach, because you want nothing in your stomach when you take an acid reflux pill, because you want it to be, it's the whole point of that is to minimize the acid. So which one do I take? So I take one, I can show a picture of the one I have. I don't know the name of it. I think it's Digestive Health is the one that I take. But I'll take a picture of it and send it. But as long as it has 10 billion cultures, I get it from Costco. And it has probiotics and prebiotics. And I think it has 4 strains. You really only need to make sure it has 2 strains. But if you have 4, that's great. It's just, you know, it's kind of like a little family. Instead of 2, you're getting 4. But you want 10 billion. Now, some of the probiotics that they sell will be 2 billion per pill, but you need to take it, you know, so if you had to do that, you'd have to take 5 of them in a day, which is not ideal. But because a lot of these pills will sell 2 or 3 billion cultures per pill, per dose, but then they tell you to take it with each meal. But again, if it's not equaling 10 per day, you want to make sure you're getting 10, because that gives you enough of a fighting chance for those guys to hang out. So the prebiotics, like I said earlier, are the foods for the probiotics. So if you take the probiotic pill, and then you, after you take it, you know, shortly after or with it, you take down, you know, some prebiotic, I'm just reading off my little list here. Prebiotic foods are garlic, onion, asparagus, banana, leek, barley, oats, apples, flax seeds. Those are just some of the prebiotic foods. So that's the food for the probiotics. So you want to do that, because then what happens is when they get down there, and if you don't eat, you know, a very healthy diet to begin with, me, so then you're not taking the foods with it. So then you're not giving them foods. But if you eat certain foods after you take it, you're giving them food to eat what they need to eat and produce the good vitamins, giving you more energy, giving you more serotonin, boosting levels. Like even women who have issues, you know, during that time of the month when your estrogen level plays a big role in your gut health, plays a big role in your estrogen and how and your levels. You wish they eat pizza. Well, Lori, the little gremlins or Candida are the ones that are eating the pizza. So you can keep eating the pizza, but you know, but you're gonna have more of the gremlins hanging out in there. And those are not the good things. So if you are someone who gets a lot of headaches, then you may want to make sure you're at least taking a probiotic every day to help manage. So it's not saying that you can't eat carbs and you can't eat sugar. And those little guys, the gremlin ones, do play a role in your body, and everybody has them. So having a small amount of them is fine. It's when you have like an overgrowth of them that it starts to take, you know, a toll on your body and your health, and you can feel foggy. And they say you are what you eat, right? So these are the reasons why you are what you eat, because how it breaks down in your gut is really what it comes down to, because you want to make sure that you're getting the most vitamins and the most nutrients. And these vitamins and nutrients right now with this situation, with boosting your immune health, since that's the only factor that you have against COVID-19, is keeping your immune system strong and using it so that if you do come in contact with the virus, your body's prepared to fight and fight quick as much as it can. So in this day and age, you want to make sure that your immune health is good. Avocados, what about them, Christine? The avocados have good fiber. I don't know if they are prebiotic food, but I'll look at it. Unless you're telling me they are, I'm not sure. But they, yeah. So, I mean, I'll take a picture of the one that I take and send it. You just, again, you want 10 billion cultures a day, with a minimum of 2 strains. If you're taking 1 a day, which usually makes people's life easier, or you're taking, 3 a day. Now, if you get a capsule that's 3 billion cultures per dose, and you take that, or 4 billion cultures per dose, and you take that 3 times a day, you're getting 12 billion cultures. That's good. That's fine. It's not a bad thing if you get more than 10 billion, but you want a minimum of 10 billion per day. So, are there any other questions? I'm looking to see what else I wanted to say, and because every time I log off, I'm like, oh, I should have said this or that. I think that's all I have to say on this topic right now. I was trying to find, I know when I was a kid I had a little gremlin, and I thought I had a little one somewhere, and I was going to use that as a prop, but I couldn't find it. But I thought that it was interesting. So, kombucha drinks, are they good in this whole process? So they are if they're not processed. I was just reading something about that. Laura, I'm going to get back to you, because I think that what they said was that a lot of those have inactive cultures in it. So you want to make sure it says that it has active cultures in it. Avocados help with cramps. Avocados help with cramps, absolutely, because avocados are very high in magnesium, and magnesium helps with cramps of any kind, whether it's menstrual cramps, leg cramps. High in magnesium diet will help with the blood flow and muscle health. It helps improve blood flow and muscle. So magnesium is good, and that's one of the things that avocados helps with. And I think that even probiotics, they're finding that they have a big impact on those that are going through menopause, because of the level of estrogen and that your body produces, and the ups and the downs, and the level and progesterone which is with the cramping, because when you're going through that time of the month, you produce, like the week before you're actually due, you produce a very high level of progesterone, which forces your digestive tract to slow down, and actually slows down the and slows down the process to eliminating. So that's why a lot of women get constipated right before their period, or right in the first few days. It's because your body slows down the system because of the high level of progesterone. But having probiotics in your diet will help produce more serotonin, which is the thing that kind of pushes everything out. So the serotonin, you know, that's its role, is to guide out and eliminate. So that would help with diarrhea. Not diarrhea, constipation. Diarrhea is if your body is pushing it out too quickly. It's not because you're too happy or you have too much serotonin. Usually it's a cramping issue, which we can get into another day when we go into like fiber and what that does and how that helps eliminate. And so you want to incorporate probiotics in any diet, especially if you're carrying somebody who's elderly, because your body has less of the microbes as you get older, as you age. So you want to make sure that and because they need, you know, those that are elderly, those that are special needs, those that are immunocompromised, they need more of as much help as they can get with vitamins and nutrients, and this is the best way to get them into your body. Because if you're eating a lot of pizza or ice cream or things like that, you want to get as much of the good stuff in your system, and the probiotics, they're the ones that eat the good stuff that you're taking. So if you have too much of the candida and they're not letting the probiotics eat what they're eating because they're eating everything else, well, then that's when, you know, you can take every supplement in the world and you could eat, you can eat all these great things, but if you're still eating a lot of carbs and sugar and getting more of the gremlins growing in there, they're not going to allow the, you want to level the playing fields with the probiotics. Okay. I feel like I'm just going on and on now. So on that note, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you after this is over. And I'm certainly always open to hearing about topics, so feel free to share as well. Hope you all have a great night, and I will see you next week.